So our today's session includes these topics: network layer, DTOs connect with APIs, JSON serialization, and then error handling. Then we have MVVM, clean architecture, and feature first approach. So also we will be discussing a little bit about local database also using the SQL databases. So for today, these are 1 minute. Okay. So I have already created a project here, set up the project here. I will just give the overview of this boilerplate code. So in the main.dart, I have this session app where we have material app inside it, and then calling this library app in this home. So this is just a stateful widget, nothing else. Then we are doing some database related operation here. Uh, Let me collapse this once and then we'll explain. Okay. So we have many options in for database in Flutter. Uh, we can categorize the database in two parts, which is uh, SQL database, SQL and NoSQL. So we mostly use SQL in our work, but I thought that we thought that SQL will be easier for students because that is primarily there in the syllabus as well. So we will go with the SQL database today. So for SQL there is a very popular package in Flutter, which is SQLite. We will use this package. So I have already added in the Perfect YAML. Okay. So I've already added SQLite and path package. Path package, this is for the local database, and this is for giving some functionalities, some functions for joining the paths or those kind of things, getting the directory path in our whatever device we are having for iOS or for Android, for macOS, in whatever OS the application is running, we will get some operations like functions, predefined functions from this library. So here I have done the import for both the packages, escapeflight and path. Now I have taken an instance of database which is nullable. In the init state, I am initializing that. In the init state, I am calling a function initialize database. So inside that, I'm getting the database path first of all. This is coming from this path package. I'm just calling a function from that package, and I'm getting the path. This is a string. Let me write that. So I'm getting the database path for whatever OS is. This library will handle internally and will return with a database path. So this is nothing but some this kind of directory inside our folder, which we can't open in our Android or iOS device manually. We can only access it through the code, like this kind of folders. Data inside that, again data, then the package name like our application package name. It can be like com.python session 5 for this case, and then inside that we will have the databases folder. So inside that databases folder, we can create multiple DBs. So I want to create one library database. Here I am taking an example of library management. So I have just used the join function from this path, again from the path package, which just joins the database like one path with the another. So why I'm using join function? Suppose I can also do like database path plus library.db, but uh, and can give a slash here. But the problem is not all the OS follows this forward slash or backward slash. Some follows the forward slash and some follow the backward slash. So according to the OS, this will decide what to use and will join accordingly. We can also see the examples here. So this will return us the database path. Then I want to open the database. This open will also create like in this open database we will have the functions for on create, on upgrade, and on uh, downgrade, these functions also. I am just handling the on create. We are not upgrading or downgrading the database that is required for the migrations, and for that we also need to create the migrations and all those. So, like not to create the migrations. Generally, we do create the migrations in the backend, but here when we are dealing with the local DB, we will get the DB and the version here. From here, what we write in the migration files, we need to write here. Sorry for the background noise. Razak, is my voice clear, or are you getting too much background noise?
No, iOS, it's good.
It's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So for opening the database, I am calling this function from the SQLite package. Then I'm passing the path here, this path. Then the version. We can also keep a note of this version in our shared preferences kind of thing. This is the SQL database. First of all, we can also have key value pair database, and there we can also store the versions, like which version of database for this I'm using right now in my device I'm having, and I can upgrade that accordingly when the database is upgraded or deleted or whatever. So then we are having this on create function. Here we are passing when the database is created for the first time, when the database is not there. So what I want to do, what I want to perform. So I want to create two tables there. Create a author table and then create a books table. So I will just simply write db.execute. I am getting the db from the parameter here in the function, and writing db.execute, calling the execute function. What I need to pass inside the execute, the raw query for the raw SQL query. Create table authors table name, and then the fields inside that, the columns. And what exactly what we write for the SQL queries, we need to write here. This is known as raw query in case of SQLite. So here also we are doing the same thing. We are taking ID, title, author ID, pages, and foreign key. Author ID as the foreign key, and we are referencing it with the authors. Sorry, this is the reference for the foreign key of the author ID with this one, authors table ID. And then this is the create database, initialize database. Only we are creating the database itself here. Then we have a few functions here for insert author books, update book, and get books with authors. Also delete author with books. So we have in for insert author and books, and just checking if the database is null. We won't be doing anything and return from here, and also showing a snack bar here, nothing else. Then if it is not null, then we will come to this part of code, and we will perform a transaction here, database.transaction. uh, Inside that I'm creating a author, like I'm inserting an author in the authors table. So I need to write transaction. The transaction instance I'm getting in the function here. I need to pass the function in this transaction method. In the database.transaction, I need to pass a function here, action. So this is giving me the, one second. So this is a function which is giving me the transaction in the parameter, and I need to return the future of type, whatever type I'm calling. So type we can ignore here, this thing. We can just assume that we are passing a function where we are getting the transaction in the parameter. Okay. Also, one thing to note here, when we are performing a transaction, we should not use the database instance here. We can also do this using the database instance. But if we are doing the transaction, we should not use the database instance here. Only the transaction instance. So we are creating and inserting a row in the authors table, and these are the values I want to put. Then we are not going with the model structure right now. We can do that here, but let us go with I'm showing this manually using the hash maps, inserting the data and getting the data using hash maps. And later on, when I will showcase the API part, then after that I will show the DTOs, how to connect with the, like, how to use DTOs with this local database or APIs. So when we run this command, we will get the author ID. When we insert this values in the authors table, we will get the author ID. And then we insert two books. For the books, I have kept title, author ID, and pages, three fields. As you can see in this one also. Here we have the name, and here we have title, page, title, author ID, and pages. So I'm passing here. I have just inserted two books here manually. We can also do like take input from the user, these three fields, and then insert that to the DB. So after this, I have a update book function which does like same thing. If the database is null, do nothing, and else we come to the transaction part. Here we are running the transaction.update, and here we are referring to the table, books table. Then we want to update the title and pages, suppose, for here. So I will write title and pages. This one I will pass the values accordingly. Then I need to pass where I want to update this thing. So I want to match the ID wherever the ID matches with the, like, I want to update this according to the ID. I want to update where the ID is 1. So I will write ID equals to question mark for here, and where arguments, like if I pass here question mark, I need to pass the value accordingly here. Suppose if I would have write, I can write here comma pages equals to question mark. So I need to pass two values here like this. So this one will go to the first question mark. This two will go to the second question mark. If anyone knows the Python syntax, then the string interpolation there works like this. So that type of thing. Then it will update this title and pages for the book ID 1. Then we have get books with authors. So I am just doing running this query, select books dot id, books dot title, books dot pages, and authors dot name as author from books table, and inner join on authors, inner join authors on books dot author id equals to author id, this one. So I'm just running the simple SQL command. This is the raw SQL query. Then also here also I'm checking if the database is not null, and then running this query. And if the database is null, I will just return empty list. Then we have delete author and books. Same way here also, I'm just finding the where I want to delete and passing the arguments where args. and this will delete the record. Table name, where, and then arguments for where. This is also same. Sorry, this is for the books, this is for the authors, but the transaction is same. Both are delete. And then we come to the UI part. I just have the app bar here. Then we have four buttons here. Let me remove this. So we have four buttons here. Three buttons here. Insert, author and books, get books and authors, delete author and books. So they are calling the respective functions. So I have just printed the like when we are inserting something or doing some deleting something, for all the operations I have placed the print statement. Let me try with one. If I click on insert author and books inserted. If I click on get books with authors, I get the books with authors. So I also tried this previously, so that's why I'm getting so many results. Let me delete this first. So it should be equals to. The condition here was like reversed, so that's why it gave the error. Database is equals to null, then we will show that database is null. Suppose if I want to delete all of them, I will just remove this where and where args. I'm just commenting the where, and then first of all I will delete all the authors. Now I will uncomment. So now if you do insert author and books, this is inserted. Then if I do get books with authors, I've got the list, which is ID 33, Harry Potter, and the this whatever the title was, pages, and then author. So I have placed the two insert queries here. So that's why I'm getting the two records. This one. Author is J.K. Rowling. What it was here. So let me add some more UI here so that we can visualize better. Suppose if I want to have text fields, I will create a text editing controller, final text editing controller outside of this build method. So this is one thing to note, that if we are creating some variables, we need to create that outside of the build method, because this if we create it inside, then it will reset the variable whenever we use set state or perform any rebuild on the UI. So we need to create it outside of this. Text rating controller equals to variable name equals to this. So suppose if I would have done it inside the build method, then whenever we call set state, this build method will be called again, and this will reset the value, like it will reinitialize the value. But we don't want that. I will create one more book title controller. Same for the text form field, I will duplicate one and book title. Also change the controller for this. I also want to show the list of books I have. So for that I can use expanded because we are inside of a column. So we need to use expanded for the list view. Inside this expanded, I will use list view dot builder. It will take a function. We'll do control space and on the suggestions. I also need to pass the item count. And for now, suppose I'm giving 10. We'll change the values to be dynamic later. Uh, so this item count is very important here. When we are using listview.builder to create the UI of one widget, one prototype, and then create all the full list, then we need to provide this item count. This is not a required parameter, but if you don't provide it, the list will continue to scroll and it won't stop. So we need to provide some kind of item count, whatever how many items I want to show. So for now, I have kept it 10, but we'll change it to whatever the size of the books list is. When this kind of thing happens, that hot reloading is coming 2-3 times here, it won't reload again. So we need to, like, this is a issue happens frequently. So I know that it won't run again. So I just stopped it and will try to run again. So here I will take one more variable, list of book, the books list, variable for the books list. Now when I am fetching the books, is this one, get books with authors. So instead of returning it directly, I will take it in a variable list, and after that I will insert that to the books. Books equals to list. We don't need to insert because we are not adding, we are just changing the list. So I've just done books equals to list. Then from here we can return books. sorry, return list. So when we do get books with authors, this will fetch the books from our local DB using this query, and then I am putting that to the books list, books variable. Now we will come to this list view builder and we'll change it the item count to books dot length, and here as well I will inside the items builder I will take the object of books and this index, the index we are getting from this parameter, and we'll take it to a variable. Book equals to the list of books, the particular book inside that in that index, at that particular index, and then I will just add the values here. Book title, which is author. Also, when I'm changing the variable here, I need to refresh the UI, rebuild the UI. After this thing, I need a set state, call to the set state. So it will just rebuild the UI because we have the variable updated, but the UI won't update using when we directly just update the variable. So I'm just rebuilding this. It doesn't do anything. It just calls the build method again. So okay, now when I do insert author and books are inserted. Now if I do get books with authors, I've got one, two, three, four items here. So I think with in the initialize also we are inserting it once. So that's why we got this two times. Initialize DB. No, we are not doing. I think we did it two times from here. If I do get delete author and books, let's see what happens. I think there's some issue in the delete function. So let us make this UI better so that we are doing everything with the UI instead of these functions uh, manually. So I will just make the cross axis to be start for this column inside this container. I want to give margin. Now in the decoration part, I will add some box shadow. This will take a list of box shadow. I need to pass the color over here. Colors. I'm passing colors dot gray. Then to spread radius. And I'm also doing the giving the color for our card. This container colors dot white. This is not looking good. So let me change the values. A bit better. I want to add uh, some border radius, border radius dot circular, and then value to be 20. So this is not a constant. So I need to remove the const from here. And then I also want some padding, the internal padding inside this container. So all 16. It's a bit better. So let me also remove this uh, notations here. I will add some text style to this, to the title first, and which is I want to give 20 as font size. This is too big. I'm giving 16, and the font weight is. Now I want to add a delete button over here. So I will just do, before this text I will add one more text here, and instead of text I will add a row here. So I will just wrap it with row. We'll do the main axis alignment as and space between, and I will show the book ID here. And in the right side I want to show the delete, or suppose I want to show the pop-up menu button, which shows us two or three options on click of that. So I will add a pop-up menu button widget. In the item builder, I just need to pass a function, and all these things we can just do control space and get the function, get whatever placeholder we can have. So I just after writing this, I'm just doing control space. So the first will be the required thing, and then the optional things will come. Then again I am doing control space from the session. I'll put an icon here, icons dot. mm, Sorry, this is taking something else. Okay, so this is taking list of pop-up menu entry, not the widget. It will go to child. So whatever we put in the child, it will come here. And when we click, it will show the options here. So I haven't added any option here. That's why it's not coming. It will be pop-up menu button. Sorry, not pop-up menu button, pop-up menu item. Inside that child, I will pass a text here. The first option I want is edit and then delete. So if I click on this, it will show me two options, edit and delete. Instead of book ID, I can also use a hash over here. And after that row, I'm adding some size box. Okay, now there's one more thing I wanted to show with the list view, that if you see only this part is scrollable from here to here, but I want the whole screen to scroll. But for that, saw that we can't use expanded inside a single child scroll view. So what's the way to make the whole screen scrollable without having any issue in the scrolling behavior? So we have one more thing in the item builder, list view builder here, or any list view we have. This is physics. So we have few physics here. What is physics? We have some predefined classes which we can pass, like never scrollable physics or always scrollable physics, bouncing scrollable physics, carousel scroll physics. These options we will get here if we do control space. So uh, according to these classes, there are some behavior which we can try on. The first one is always scrollable scroll physics, which is nothing, the default one. And the bounce, this one, bouncing scroll physics, it gives a behavior of bouncing. When this ends, this is the bouncing behavior. And then we have one class is never scrollable scroll physics. If you do this, it won't scroll. Now if we remove this expanded, it will throw some error. So for when I said why we need to use expanded, I said that we need to give some kind of height. We need to mention some kind of height, and we don't know how much height is available. So we are wrapping it with expanded so that it will take whatever available space is there, whatever available height is there. So we have one more thing, one more alternative for that. Inside this, we have a property shrink wrap. I can just pass through. So this will internally do some calculations according to the screen, and will find out how much space is there remaining. So it will, if I restart it now, it won't give the error. Second. So this is the list view is not appearing here because the reason is we are inside the item builder also. Shrink wrap cannot calculate the value of the height because it doesn't know the height of this child. We haven't mentioned it inside anywhere, the height, and also inside the container there is a column. So column is a vertically align, like it aligns the children's vertically. So there's no height for that. Whatever we provide according to that the widgets are placed. So for that we need to provide some kind of height to this container. So let me try with some numbers. Okay, I think that's not the issue. It is already correct now. I haven't done get books with authors, so that's why it's not coming. I'm removing this height to just to check. I will do get books with authors. Okay, yeah, this is coming. As we wanted to make the whole screen scrollable, but not without using the expanded or like those any issues. So also I can remove this height. No. So now in the edit and delete, I want to call those functions. This function delete author and books, I will call this. I think this is deleting both the book and author. So I would like to create a new function which deletes the book, not the author. Delete book. I'm taking the book ID. I don't need this transaction for deleting the author. I just want to delete the book. Where ID equals to question mark and the value for that ID. I'm taking that from the parameter of this delete book function. So I will write I'm writing the messages book with mentioned ID provided ID is deleted. I can also give the snack bar here. So snack bar context and message. This is nothing like custom created function for scaffold messenger dot off context show snack bar using which we can show the toast message or snack bar. So inside this delete operation delete button, I want to perform that action, the delete transaction, delete book. So here we have on tab inside this pop-up menu item. It takes a function, so this can be a constant. Here I will call delete book. I need to pass the context and the book ID. So here is the book ID. I will pass that to this function, and this will return in future. So I need to await for that. And for supporting await, I need to mark this function as async. Also, when we perform any action, we should refresh this. So I'm doing this very basic process right now. Will later on show how to manage this very seamlessly using Riverpod and using Riverpod. So if I do delete here, it will show in the UI because it's not updated. So for that, I need to call here set state after this to rebuild the UI. Also in the delete book, because we are having the books list in the uh, variable, so I need to update that as well. Instead, let's do that with the function right now. We'll later do the refresh, auto refresh thing. I'm doing the get books. Now I have these three books. I will delete this one. Plug into the get books. So I have this two because the 34 book ID 34 is deleted. Now I want to insert the books using this text field. Yes, this function. So I'm modifying this function a bit. I want to take the author and author name and book details from the parameter here. So I will add the curly braces for accepting the name parameters. We will do required string author name, required string book title, and the number of pages. So I will only keep one of them because for one request I want to create only one, not two rows. I'll just change the values here. Okay, so this function is refactored according to input. It will create the transaction. Now I need to pass these three things here. Because these are named parameters, I need to pass first use the parameter name there, author name, book title, and pages. So I am creating one more text field here for the pages. Or let's suppose I want to provide some random numbers here. So I can do it like this. Random. We have a random class in Dart package, Dart.math package. Then we have next int function here, next int, next bool, next double. So it will give us the random next random integer, random boolean, and random double. Max, we need to provide a maximum value till what max value I need the random values, random integers. So if I give 500, it will give me random integers from 1 to 500. We can also do something like uh, this one, because we are not able to provide the minimum value here. So for that we can do pass the maximum value and then plus it with some value from where we want to start. If you want it in the range of 50 to 150, we can write this kind of code. And then for book title, we have the controller, book title controller. I will use that and we'll get the text parameter from there. Then we have author name controller dot text. So I guess this is done. So if I write here, let me restart it. I will do get books with authors. We have two books here. Suppose I am giving some random name. I will do insert author and books. Then I will click on get books with authors to update this data. So my book, 495 pages, my author. So also I want to clear this text fields when I'm done with the creating the this thing, uh, insert author and books. So what I can do, I can also access this author name controller dot text and set it to uh, empty string after this is inserted successfully. But we have one more thing, form, which Razak showed us yesterday. Using that, we were validating the forms. So I will also use that. I will cut these two text fields. I will use the form widget, and then inside inside form we can pass child. So, but we have two uh, text fields. So we will use a column inside that, and then we'll pass the children's, which is two text fields. The UI will not change. The UI is similar because form doesn't do anything on the UI, but we have something as key here. We have key in every widget, but uh, we don't use that much. We will use that when we want to track down any widget or widget tree, but we can't find the context of that. The context is the first widget locator, and then using key also we can do any kind of operation with that widget. So I will create a key here first, final global key, global key of form state. I will just name it as form key. So we have four types of keys in Flutter: global key, value key, unique key, and one I'm forgetting. I think we have three keys. Okay, object key. Yes. So these keys are used to track the widgets directly. Uh, Suppose for form widget, I want to track this widget, and what I mean by tracking is like I want to perform some operations on this widget, this form widget, and whatever there is inside it. And but outside of this form widget, like I don't want to perform the operation here. I want to validate this thing or clear the text fields, but not from here. I want to do that from somewhere else, like from a function, like insert function I want to do. So for that, I can use a key here, like this form key, and then using this form key, I can access this form widget. And whatever the type of key is, I can this one. The type of key is this form state. A global. This is a global key of type form state. So form state is a class provided by Flutter only. So I can access that and perform the actions based on that form state. So I will find the insert author and books. Here after this is done, insert books. This is returning as the integer. Um, this will return as the uh, book ID. So we will to check that it is inserted successfully. I will just check that the book ID is a some positive integer. We'll check if, because we need to confirm that the book is inserted successfully. Book ID is greater than 0, then it means that it is inserted. Now after this, I will just access this form key dot current state dot. We have a function called reset. Yesterday, Razak showed us the function for validate. We have this validate function. We also have reset function here. It's saying that we can't call it the reset. The method reset can't be unconditionally invoked because the receiver can be null. So as I said, for the null safety, this is nullable. This the type of this is t nullable. So here we need to put a question mark here. So by mentioning the question mark here, we mean that that if this is null, just proceed from here. Don't go to this reset function. Like skip this line of code from here. And there is one more thing to resolve this error, which is exclamation sign. So when we use exclamation sign, which I am also using here, so we should only use that if we have already checked that it is not null. So for database, I'm using that only when I have previously checked that it is not null. If it is equals to null, I will just return from before this, before calling this. So this is not called, because when we put exclamation sign, it assumes that we have already checked it and this won't be null. But suppose there's a condition where I forgot to check that it is uh, I forgot to check the null, that current state is not null, and directly put the exclamation sign. So if this is null, it will crash the application. So that's why I will recommend that only use this question mark until and unless we have already checked this. So what will this do? It will reset our form, like whatever input I have, it will just uh, clear the fields. So if I click on insert, one second, let me restart this. If I put some insert, it cleared my text fields. And also we have this, I need to do get books, some book by some author, and a random number of pages. So we have seen the insert query and the delete. We are left with the edit one. So for edit, I will write one more function. Okay, we have one function update book. So here we are taking the book ID and we are finding that book. We are passing that in the where clause. Okay, this is hard coded ID one. I need to change it to book ID. Also, I need to take the parameter here, string book title. I'm removing the pages. I only want to update the title. So we can, if we want to update the pages also, we can just take the parameter there and add it here in the values. So whatever value we want to update, we will just provide that. And then as we were doing for the create, where and where arguments, here also we will check for the ID. Uh, it's written, you can just check int book ID equals to this. Book ID is already a parameter there, so we can get just to ID. ID is greater than 0. If I want to perform some operation after this, let me call this get function here. Get books with author. This one. So this will automatically update the list. I don't need to call that again. And also here we are already doing the set state. So it's done. After the delete also, let me do that. I'm calling the get books with author. When the author and book is deleted, it will simply get books with authors. For this one also. So after every operation, I am just calling this get function again. So that will refresh my UI. Okay, now to edit the book, so I think I should. This is for the create, so not to create have a like Not to have the confusion, I will just change the show a model, show a dialog or bottom sheet. So if I click on edit, this one, I will call on tab. I will pass the function. Need to remove the const. So this is a function to open the bottom sheet. I think I had shown this previously, but this is nothing but it will just a model bottom sheet from below. Like a screen, we navigate to screen. Screen is called whatever we are showing in the full height and width, and bottom sheet is what we show in like half of the screen or like not full screen. So that is called bottom sheet, which opens from the bottom. We also have something as dialog, which opens in top of this. Let me show the examples here. Dialog box. So if this is visible, alert. This is an example of alert dialog. This is an example of custom dialog. So I will show this in our projects classes. Then we have bottom sheet. I will be showing there in the code itself. Here I need to pass the context first of all. Then we have a builder which accepts a widget, which accepts a function. Inside that we need to provide the widget, return the widget. So I will return a column inside that children, and there I will have a text field, text form field. Inside a column I am having the text form field, and also I want to have the submit button. I'm giving some size box for gap, and then a text button. So in the text form field, let me provide the input decoration. Hint text. So outside of this decoration, I'm adding the controller. I'm creating a new controller here, update book title controller, and will use that controller over here. Now when I click on submit, I want to call the update function. Update book, I need to pass the context, then book ID and book title. So I will get the book ID using uh, book variable, and now the book title I need to use the controller and get the text text field inside that. Adding a comma here for better formatting. Now this will update. Let me get the books and click on edit. Now I want some padding gap from top, so I will just wrap this column with a container, or just only the padding widget. So we have this padding widget also where we can pass the padding, or we have the container widget where we can pass many other uh, values, padding, margin, decoration, etc. So here I will pass symmetric is inserts.symmetric, horizontal I need 24, and vertical I want 32. So if I again click on edit, here it is. So after update book, let me confirm if I have called this one. Yes, I've called. All done. Let me try the edit. The name is okay. There's one more thing. I also want to put the text here. Like when I click on edit, as we did for the user screen in the previous class, I want the name to the previous book title to be pre-filled here. Suppose I have a typo here, I want to edit that. So for better UX user experience, we should pre-fill the book title. So I will just access this controller. Before showing the model bottom sheet, I will just update the controller to have the book title. Now when I click on edit, it should come Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So I'm removing this stone word. Also this happens to be yes. Submit. Here it is. It's updated. So it didn't closed automatically. So I will just call the context.pop here, and I need to import the sorry, not context.pop because we are not using core router. We don't have the those functionalities using the context. I will call navigator.pop, and inside I need to pass the context. I will click on get books. Now if I update this one back to what it was, then it's updated. So we can also add the loaders here. It is not taking time much, so it won't be visible, but still I will show that if I want to show the loader, how will that work? First of all, I will mark this function as async. I will do await here, and because we are awaiting here, it will give us a warning that don't use build context across async gaps, because this is an asynchronous function call, and after that we are again using the context. So it recommends that don't use the context directly without any checking, because it can happen that we are waiting for some process and the screen got disposed, or there can be many things that can cause the screen to like dispose of. Dispose means the screen got cleared, he got to the next screen or previous screen, something like that. So we will just add a if condition here. If context dot mounted, then only perform any operation using the context. What is context dot mounted? It is a boolean flag which gives us true if we are still on that, like this context is still on this screen. What context on this screen means this widget from where we are getting the context. this is the build context of the library app. So the library app is on the screen and it's not disposed, so we can perform the operations on context. We cannot perform any operation on context if it is unmounted, in the reverse of this mounted. So if this gives false, we shouldn't perform any operations on context because that will then throw the errors and it may also crash in the release mode. So let let me try. Mm, I want to update this one. I'm removing the secrets word here. Okay, sorry, I didn't do the loader thing. So here I will just keep a flag of is loading. I will initialize it with false, and here I will change that to true. And again, after this operation is completed, I will mark it as false. And based on this is loading, I can show the this text submit. Instead of text submit, I want to show the loader. I will add the tertiary condition here is loading. What to do when what to show when it's a success and what to show if it's sorry, when it's true what to show, and when it's false what to show. So here I will just add circular progress indicator, and I also need to wrap it in a set state because this is a stateful widget and we are not, because we are not using any state management like river pod. We need to use the what we get in the stateful widget. So before calling the function, I am doing set state is loading equals to true, and after calling the function call is completed. Because I have added await here, it will wait for this operation and then will perform this block of code. If I remove this await, it will just call set state, then call the update book, and will continue to call the next block of code in this function, and will not wait for the result of this function call. So like this, if I, and it will not take any time, like it will be updated in a millisecond. So I will just add a delay here just to show that it is working. Future dot delayed. Here I need to add the duration first. I'm adding a duration of 2 seconds and an empty function, passing the empty function. I can also remove the function call here, and also need to wait for this as well, so that it waits for 2 seconds. I just added this delay just to show is loading, how it works for is loading. Get books. Now I go to edit. If I remove the stone word here, submit. Okay, it's not working. Let me check. Okay, because we are inside a stateful, this is a state show model bottom sheet. So inside model bottom sheet or dialogues, it won't set state won't work directly. We need to wrap the widget inside builder with something, with a widget called as stateful builder. So I will wrap it with a builder and will change this builder to stateful builder. I will get a set state also inside this builder. Now if I restart, now this set state will work because before we were using the set state of the screen stateful widget, but this is not inside the stateful widget. This is something, this is outer of that. We are calling this in the function which is inside this stateful widget, but this is outside of that stateful widget. There's another builder for that. It's not inside the same build method of that stateful widget. So now if I do edit, I will add the stone word here, random updated. Now it works. This is updated. So yeah, we did the open database thing. Let me summarize whatever we have done till now. Local database. So we used the SQF Lite package. Then we created the database like open database, called the open database function. Then we have learned the CRUD operation. We did the get operation, insert, which is create. This is read. Then we also did the update and we also did the delete. If I want to delete this 35, then again 37. This is working. So we did the CRUD operation. And we also learned a few things about widgets like list view inside a column without expanded widget, and the whole screen is scrollable. So this is it for the local database. I would like to take the queries now for the local database if anyone has. Uh, Dear participants, if anyone has any query for local database, please ask now. After this, I will continue with the API part. Okay, I think let's proceed then with the API calls, whatever we had this in our session today, network layer and these things. I have added a poll. If you can, like, it would be helpful for us also if you can just respond on that too. Like, if you can tick if you are good, if your feedback is good. So let's go come to the API part. Uh, I will explain first what I'm thinking to demo. First, I will try to create some do some API calls. If we have the internet, we will also check the like internet connection. When we do some operation, we will check the internet connection. If we have the internet connection, has internet, then we will do the API call. Else, we will do the local database call. So first of all, we have this DO package, which is helpful for the network calls. We have more packages, but this is the most useful one. We have one base package which is for which is HTTP. The name is only HTTP. This one, but we get more functionalities in DO, and that is also simple to use. So we will be using DO. Then we have one more package, uh, Pretty DO Logger. It is helpful to see the logs in a better way in our debug console. Like this, it will show the logs. Otherwise, we would have to print every time. So we will use these two packages. And for checking the connection, internet connection, we will use Connectivity Plus. Here we can see the README file usage also. So let's start the implementation. I will create a file here for, so okay, let us go. I will show this both of the things at once, this architecture also and the network layer. So that we cover both of the things in one go. I will create a folder here first inside the lib. I will name it as suppose auth, not auth. Razak, do you have any suggestion which, like, for which feature should we try so that we can also use fake APIs?
Sorry, can you repeat, Ayush?
Yeah, I'm asking that which feature, what feature should we try with? Like, do you have any fake APIs selected? Or
Uh, I can send you the login API or some fake API that will return just for data like ID data, not a list, but a single object.
let me check if we get this in the fake story API. This one. Add a new product. Okay, we also have the post APIs here in this fake story API, so we can use this. Okay, so let's use this one only. So we will add feature folder here, which is products for our case. We can also wrap all the features inside one another folder, which is features, and we can create one more folder as core. So we can include the like shared files inside this core folder, and we can include the feature specific files inside this features folder. So for every folder, we can simply create a new folder here. Like for auth, we can create one folder, and then for products, we can create another folder like this, so that our code is clean. If I write some code for the authentication related, whether it's UI code or like API calls or local database thing. So all those things goes inside this auth feature folder. So we will from now onwards we will refer this as feature folder. Like this is the auth feature folder. Then this is the products feature folder. Now inside a feature folder, I will create again folders, which is I want to separate it using the layers. So we have three layers here. We have data, domain, and presentation. So we follow clean architecture. I won't be going exactly the correct like whole implementation of clean architecture, just whatever is needed for us. So inside the data folder, we let me create a file here so that so what is clean architecture? It just helps us in separating the files according to layers. And what is layers here? By layers, I mean we will have some code for UI, like we had this thing inside the build method, and then we had some functions which are not related to the UI user interface. They are the core like functionality of this application. So we can extract those functions in separate class and can use that class and call these functions inside the UI. We don't need to include all the things in this same class, which is the widget class. So if anyone knows the solid principles, you would know the single responsibility single responsibility principle, where we prefer to keep where we want to have only one responsibility for one class. So here also, uh, to implement solid principles also, this clean architecture helps us. So we are separating the files. We are separating the widget files and the functionality files. We'll be creating different classes for that, for the widgets, and different class for the functions, those operations. So we will have functions in the widget class also, but that will be only well, like those functions which are related to the UI, like updating the UI, or suppose we are doing some toggle, so we have set state function call. That is not the business logic. So it just updates the UI. So those function we will have that in the widget class itself, and other classes which are not related directly to the UI, we will keep that in another file. Next, we have mm, the layers which I mentioned here. What layers we have? We have data layer, domain, and then presentation. So inside presentation, we keep screens or common widgets, which I showed in the one of the previous classes. For reusing the widgets, we can extract those and use that in anywhere in the widget tree. And then the state management code. In the domain, we keep entities, repository interface, we have one more thing here, use cases, but I would be like skipping that for our sessions because that will be that is not needed for us. Now here we what is entities? Entities are nothing, just what we call Pojo class or data class, model class. That is entities. And here we have the model class. We will be merging this thing. I will just explain this and will then show what we will actually do. Then we have repository uh, implementation and data sources. Okay, so what are these things which I mentioned here? These are the layers: data layer, domain layer, and presentation. These are just the separation of whatever we will be like putting in these folders. So inside the data layer, we will be putting these kind of files: model classes or repository implementation or data sources. Data sources can be like local data source, which fetch local DB or API calls, which will fetch us the data from external sources, which will fetch the data from the sources. So if we are getting the data from API, so we will be doing the API calls, or if we are getting the data from local database, we will be getting the data from we will be writing the functions to fetch the particular data from the local database. So those functions which we are writing, will include that in separate classes and will put that file in this folder, in this data folder. Then in the domain, you can see we have repository interface. Repository interface is a abstract class or interface class. We will be writing abstract, not the interface actually. So abstract class for defining the abstract class for defining the what we say rules, what repository functions should be there. This may not make 100%. This may not be 100% understandable right now, but when I will explain, that will be clear. Now in the entities, we won't be having entities and model class separately. What is the difference here? For in the entities, we only define the like this. Suppose we have a class user and we have fields here like final string, name, and age. So it just only contains this. This is an entity. We can also include the constructor here. Let's use it. This dot name, this dot age, like this. With the only with the properties and the constructor, this is called an entity. And if we include some functions here, like from JSON to JSON for serialization process, if we write here user dot from JSON, we define a function here, then it becomes a what we say a model class. So I am removing this from here, or I am just giving entity example, model example. Okay, so Why is this needed? User dot from JSON, or there is also one thing, user dot to JSON. This is needed to serialize the functions, like serialize the data. Let me show why do we need this. So here, if you see, we were referring it like this, when how we refer it to the JSON and extract the data inside that, like a hash map. So putting these keys inside is not very like, this can be error prone. If some developer writes IDD or by mistake, it can happen. So just to make it simple, or instead of title, someone can put a double T here by mistake. So to make this process easier, we serialize the data to convert the data to Dart objects. So to convert that to Dart objects, we create these functions. So if we use that serialization, then this book won't be the type of dynamic. Instead, it will be a type of, instead like we had the user class, we will create the book class. So then we could write like this book.id, and that will also come in the session. If that is not present, that will throw the error. Then in the presentation, this is already almost clear because we are seeing that from the past four classes: screens, widgets, and state management, the river pod code, those things. So instead of entities and module class, we will be having only module class, and for now we will be having this there in the domain. So let us proceed with the implementation of that. Inside this domain, I will create a new file called product model.dart. I will create a class for this. What we are getting in the product's response. I need to copy one object from here. Here I will go to app.quicktype to easily get that the model class. We can also write that manually. I will show what are the how to write product model. I will do copy code from here. I need to, yeah, okay. I need to select Dart because I use it many times, so it is by default selected all the things. I need to select the language here as Dart. Then I need to check this null safety. Then I need to check these options for null safety. Put encoder and decoder in class. Make all properties final. Generate copy with method and make all properties optional. This we can leave also. This we need. Yeah, this one. These three are main. Null safety, put encoder and decoder in class, and make all properties optional. We also need to enable the second option from this other here. Generate class definitions with priest compatibility. And these we can leave on or off. It doesn't matter much. So now if we go here and paste this code, it will give us the error. It's again the generative code thing. So we need to add the some more packages for this, which are let me go to that file again. Okay, that is good. So for creating data class, sorry, I'm writing it as model class now. If I want to create a model class, I need three packages using the freeze. It makes easier to like it generates the rest of the code. We don't need to write manually everything. If I wanted to write all the code, I can also use the like extensions to generate the code from only from the, suppose I create a user class and place. Let me copy it from here. Remove these two. I can click on this, and because I have an extension here, Dart data class generator, I can generate it using the suggestion here. But what happens that if I change something here, I again need to remove all the code here. If suppose I am having an addition here, final uh, string id. So for this change, I need to add that change the constructor here, change the copy with method here, change to map here, from map, everything. So this is very difficult when we work on real projects, and we can also go with this like we remove all the other codes till here. Uh, so now we can do that again. So it will take the, sorry, generate data class. So now it will also consider the ID for every field. But this is there can be error if we do this by this way, and it happens too many times. So in freeze, we only need to run the command, that dart build runner build command, and it will automatically change like check the what's the change and will generate the code accordingly. So for using freeze, we need to use three packages. Not three, but four, which is freeze annotation. Let me directly show that in the code. I will do add dependency here from the command palette. I will add freeze underscore annotation, this one, and again I will add dependency, which is JSON annotation. Both are annotation, freeze annotation and JSON annotation. These are the dependencies. Now we have two dev dependencies, which is freeze, and the second one is JSON serializable, this one. And because we are doing the code generation, so we also need the build runner. Sorry, I added this by mistake in the dependency instead of the dev dependency. I will cut this from dependency and will add there under the dev dependency. Now we'll also add the build runner because that is needed for any code generation tool. These five packages. So this is needed for all the code generation tools, and for freeze we are using these two dev dependency which generates the code, and these two packages for annotations. Here if you see the model class which we copied from the app.quicktime.io website, uh, it is using this annotations at the rate annotation. So for this to get, we are getting that from the annotation package, freeze annotation, and for this one, JSON annotation package. So it is giving me some warning. The annotation JSON key can only be used on field source setup. I can just click on this bulb icon and ignore invalid annotation target for this whole file because it's not actually able to understand, but this is correct. So I will just ignore that. Now it's all done. I need to run the command. Dart run build runner build. I think I need to do the pub get once. Let me do the terminal. Okay, I was typing it incorrect. I put three and M there. That's it. Now it's running. Okay, so now my code is generated. If I click on this, open this model classes. So if we see that we have two generated files here, product model.freeze.dart, product model.g.dart. So we don't need to check anything there. It's all the implementation which we were doing it manually using the extension or using the extension. We have that generated here in both these files. Now, if we see here, let me, yeah. So we can also write this manually. It's just the app. What I did here, it just gives us the code generated, like Dart code generated. So here we write add freezed and then the class and its factory constructor and the factory function here. So what is with here? With is multiple used for multiple inheritance. So for that I need to tell one thing once before that Dart doesn't support multiple inheritance directly. So we have a with keyword. With keyword, we have first of all we have a mixin kind of it is instead of class. If we want multiple inheritance, we can't perform multiple inheritance. We can't achieve multiple inheritance on classes. So we need to create mixins for that. So what's the syntax for this? We need to when we create a class, we write class sample like this. But for creating mixin, we just need to change the keyword here as mixin. This is just that the class, if we write it is as class, we can't use multiple inheritance. If we want multiple inheritance, we need to change the keyword here as mixin, and then we can use the with keyword instead of extends or implements to inherit. So inside this factory constructor, we are just having this is the syntax for the freezed. If you also go to the freezed package in pub.dev, you will see the syntax and all the documentation. So I'm just adding this is the extra thing which helps us. Suppose if I have the JSON data as something like um, this description is not coming as a description, it is coming as DES, but I wanted to change it in description in my variable. So for that, I am naming the what is there in the JSON and what it should map to, like what should be the variable name created in Dart class. So this is the difference. And we can also skip this if both the names are same. Suppose for this one ID, for here for all the fields it is same, so we can also remove this one. I'm keeping it just for the reference, but we can remove this. When the names are different, then we need to have it. Suppose there's a JSON where it is coming as price, and I want to name it as rate. So then this is helpful JSON key thing. Let me change it to price only for now. So my model class is created. This is done. Now we have repository interface. I will create the product repository. I will name it just product repo dot, or let's name it full product repository dot dart. So I will create a class product repository, and then inside it I will this should be the abstract class where we are defining what are the functions a product repository should have. We are not implementing it here. So I want a function which should get the products, which should return a future of type. To mention the type, like what value it should return. It should return something as product model, list of product models. So for that also I need to wrap it with a angular bracket and then give this. So what this means, it will return the return an instance of future of type list of type product model. Now I want update product. So this will return me boolean that it's updated or not. That depends on the implementation of the APIs also. So let's check once. Show output. We are also getting the output. So this is giving us the nothing but the product model itself. So we can change it to product model, and we should keep it nullable because the API can fail. And for the list, we can keep it not non-nullable because we can return the empty list instead of the actual one if it fails, if the API fails or the local DB call fails, whatever data source we are referring to. Then we have uh, future of delete product. So let's check for the delete also what kind of response is there. Okay, same for the delete also we are getting product model. Now if we add a new product, for that also we have this output. So now for we have created the four functions here, but we also need to, we have mentioned the return type, but we also need the parameters here, because if we are having add product, we must be passing some data here. So let's check what kind of data it's accepting. Okay, it is accepting the all the fields except the ID. So I will get the product model itself here. For delete, we need ID here. Let me check for the update first. it is taking the ID and the body. So that is good. The ID will get in the model itself. Or let me rename it to product instead of model. Now we have created the product repository. Now we'll go to the implementation of this. So implementation, we will have this in the data folder. I will rename it as product repo implementation IMPL, just to keep it a bit short. Now here I will create a class product repo IMPL, and it will extend the product repository, which is imported from this library. Now it is giving me that it is missing concrete implementations of product repository to add product, delete product, all the four functions. I will click on this class, and from the suggestions I can create the four missing overrides. Now here I need to get the what is the functionality of a repository. What is the work of repository? Get the data from the data source depending on conditions. For our case, the condition is network connectivity. But what do you mean? What do I mean by depending on conditions? Suppose there can be condition that for this kind of like from where I want to get the data, that will be depending on some condition. So here for the simple thing, we are only depending on two data sources, which are local data source and remote data source, like from the API and from the local DB. So for our case, the condition is internet connectivity. Here we can check for the connect internet connection. Let me go to the package once this. Okay, I haven't added this in the Workspace ML, so that's why I'm not getting session. I will add the dependency from here. Let me check first. Yes, I don't have it. Now I can import this, and it will return a connectivity result. This one, list of connectivity result. I need to wait for that. Now, if my connectivity result, what will I get in the connectivity result? I will get, let me show, this is an enum. So this is enumeration of some values. We have Bluetooth over here, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, mobile, none, VPN, and other. It will return us what are the what are the connections the device has. If we have Wi-Fi, Ethernet, we can't have in the mobile because Flutter is for multi-platform, also the desktop. So that's why Ethernet is included here. So we'll check for Wi-Fi and mobile. So it doesn't guarantees about the internet connection, but if we are on the Wi-Fi, like suppose Wi-Fi is connected but there's no internet, it will not give us the correct result, but that's okay for us because there's no way to check exactly if we are getting the internet or not from the Wi-Fi inside our application without other permissions. So we'll only rely on so we'll check connectivity result dot contains connectivity result dot mobile or connectivity result. This is the list. This one, it contains mobile or Wi-Fi. So I can just get it in a result uh, boolean variable. I will name it as connected. So now here we can do if connected, else. So here if it is connected, we can do the API call, or here we can do the call to local DB. So to extract this thing in a function, I will just extract this in a function, and for that I will create a file under this core folder. So because I need to have this, I need to do this, write this two lines in everywhere. So instead of writing the whole thing everywhere, I will just extract this in a function. I will name it as check connection dot dart. We'll write a function here, check connection or check internet connection. This will return a boolean in future. So future of bool. We'll import this connectivity plus package here. We'll mark this function as async because I need to use await here inside. And now I will return this connected from here. I can also directly return instead of creating the variable here. So it will check for the connectivity result, get the list of connectivity results, and I am returning if it returning true if it contains the mobile or Wi-Fi options here. So instead of writing these two lines, I will just write here await check internet connection, and I can simply do this for all. I also need to write async here. So I just showed this internet connectivity because we may have some kind of scenario that we want to. Here we will just return empty list because we can have scenario where I want to have the API call as well and the local DB as well. For now, I won't be able to show the complete implementation because the API is not owned by us, so we can't have the same kind of data like because we also need to sync it later on. If I do add product here and then uh, if there is no internet connection, it comes to the local part here, local DB, this else case, then we need to uh, sync that later on with the with our remote database. So that's why I'm not going to this else implementation for today. I will just show the API calling there. And for the else part, I will just return a show snack bar here. I will also make that show snack bar a global function instead of this method. This is inside a class, this library app class. So I will just extract this. I will again create a function over here, a file over here inside the core folder. Show snack bar dot. Import the necessary package, which is material.dart, and here it's giving error because I removed it to a different file. I will import that file, show snack bar. Okay, so product repository and product repository implementation both are almost done, but here to do the API call, we need to write the like we won't be writing it directly here. We will be separating it in another file. Just to be clear, this separation we are doing just to make it readable, the project readable. This is the common architecture we follow in the projects. Suppose if I want to find the API call, I can simply go to that kind of file. So if I want to see the product repository implementation, I can find by repo implementation like this. So this separation just cleans our code and makes it readable and maintainable. So I will create one more file inside this data, which is product data source dot. And also I will write one API client file before doing the API calls. I will write a class API client. Inside that, I will create a constructor of API client. I need a field of for DO here. DO. I made a private variable here. I think I haven't added the library dependency for that. DO. I will also add the pretty DO logger. So now if I import this, I also need to initialize this DO required DO. I can't directly use this variable here like we do with the public variables. This is private, so that's why we can't do. So I will first take a instance of DO here, accept the instance of DO. This node don't need to be required because it's a positional parameter. Now I will just initialize this underscore DO variable with this DO variable like this. Now I will because if you must be knowing that we have some API methods. So we have get request, we have post request, put, patch, and delete. Mostly these are used. There are more certainly, but these are the most used API methods. There are more like head options and those things, but mostly this is used. So we have the like I will create the common functions for that, like get. I will use this du instance dot get, and then the path. So I need to take the path. Path means this one, the endpoint which we want to hit, this thing. So I will take the string. So this will return. I already showed this in the previous class also, but I will repeat. This will return a response in future. So it's returning in future. So we need to await for that. And now, if you see in a variable, it was returning a future of response. If we use await here, now it is giving me the response. So in response, we have status code, body, uh, response headers, and response body. These are the main things we have. So we can access it using res.data. Data will give me the response body. Extra, this is not needed. This will give some, we only need this three things: status code, response header, and response body. If something extra is passed in the response, then I will get an extra thing. Then we have headers, and then we have your status code. So I will just check the status code here. I'm also getting the status message as well here. So every status code has some message, like 404 has not found, 200 has okay. So like that. But let's go with checking with status code. I will check the status if it is 200. So if the status is 200, then it's success. Or we can also have it like this, that greater than equals to 200, and then the rest of status code is less than 300, because the status code works like this: 100 to 199, whatever is there. Let me show the MDN website. So here we can see we have informational responses from 100 to 199. Then we have successful responses from 200 to 299. Then redirection messages 300 to 390, and so on. So client error response 400 series, then server response. It is 500 to 599. Because it is nullable, it's giving me error that like we can't check the null with an integer. So that's why it's giving me the error. I will give a, and first need to do a null check here. Not res equals to null. Res dot status code is equals to null. If it is null, I will just return null. Now I can use this exclamation sign here. As I mentioned before, that if we have already checked it for null, we can use this exclamation sign. So for this, I will just return the res dot data. same for other methods. I can do it, write the functions. So for post, for get, we only need to use the path on which path I need to hit the what is the endpoint for the API. And for post, I need path also and what data I need to post. So I have a data field here, parameter here. I need to pass the data over here. So I will accept that data in the parameter. So this is accepting object, nullable object. So I'm also accepting that same thing and will pass over here. So what is object? Object is the base class in this Dart. So everything is an object. The string or everything extends this object class at last. So if I go to string, you can see it. It implements comparable. If I again go to this comparable, at the end I will see that it extends the. It's not, mm, okay, no, this is the this are the other files, but if you see any other things, that will at last extend the object class, the base class for all Dart objects. You see here, the base class for all Dart objects except null. Null is empty, so that's for that it's not extending. But because object is a root of the non-nullable Dart class hierarchy, every other non-null Dart class is a subclass of object. So every non-nullable non-null things are the subclass of this object. So suppose if I want to accept a string, I can pass, I want to accept string or double here. Then I can write object here and I can pass anything, any one of them. Now I have few more fields over here that this is the data. Then we have query parameters, options, cancel token, on send progress, on receive progress. So these are the one of the functionality which extra functionality which we get in DO package from HTTP. So that's why we don't use the raw HTTP package. These things we won't easily get in this kind of thing in the HTTP package. What is query parameters? Suppose I want to get like let me show. If you have seen, yeah, this one, this is the best example. So it's not, if you can see this search like this URL in the Google search, after search it is question mark and q. I will just copy this and will paste here so that we can see. So I hope it is visible. So after this endpoint, this is the request path, like API endpoint. This is the base URL, and then this is the I think this is known to everyone because this is in the courses also. So this query parameter, this q is the query parameter here. So if I go to sorry, if I want to accept some query parameters, I will be having these two things. The first one is key, and then after equals to there is value, query param in REST API, whatever there is the value. So that will be in a map, key value map, like hash map or map this is. So I will just take that from the parameters and will pass it to the query parameters. So these functions I'm creating and accepting the parameters here and just passing that without doing. because of this thing, to check the status code and initializing the DO using a single instance of DO at one class, so keeping everything at a one place and reuse that, nothing else. So also we can do few more things here, like I need to remove this one and keep a body of this constructor. DO equals to DO. Then I'm removing this DO final from here. Okay. So I have initialized this DO and then I want to add the interceptor here. What is interceptor? So this is what the next functionality we get in DO, interceptors. This is useful to intercept an API call when we use DO and call an API, whether it's get, post, or whatever the API method is. When we do the call, there can be three status of the API, like on request. When the we can intercept the API call in three steps, or like suppose when we are requesting, before the request, or when we get the response, before passing the response we perform some operation, or on error, when we get some error then we do that. This means the successful response and this means the error response. Any kind of error, it may also not give the response in case of server unavailable or those server error codes. So we want to intercept the API calls on these three statuses. So I will write here in the body of this constructor, I will write do dot interceptors dot add. So this is like a list of interceptors. So no, not list, it is the interceptors. So I need to pass, if I show you, yes, it is a list of interceptors. So I can extend, I can create my own what we say interceptor. I can create suppose my interceptor extends interceptor like this, and then I can override the on request and on these things. So for now I'm adding the pretty do logger, that is an interceptor only. So I will add this pretty do logger. Using this I can get the logs in the debug console here. Give me 1 minute, my charger is out of charge. Sorry, my laptop is out of charge, so let me connect it. Okay, so now we have this interceptor. We can also create the custom interceptors like this if we want some functionality in between. Suppose I want to add the I have the authentication token, JWT token, which we use for authenticating. If I want to add the authentication token in the header for every API, we can add that in the interceptor instead of doing that every time for when we call this function and add the headers here. We can add that in the interceptor, or there can be any kind of operation. So for suppose when we do encryption decryption, so for that case also on request we can encrypt the data, on response here we can decrypt the data. So those things can be done inside this interceptors. It's just like a reusable kind of thing we are doing, which we want in between the API calls. So for now I'm removing that. Or let me keep this, I will just keep it commented just for the reference. So now I can have one more delete. I'm not creating one for put and patch here. Okay, so we have a few more option parameters here. I will just give the overview that in the options we can provide like headers and all other things if we want. Then query parameters we already seen. Now cancel token. Cancel token is used when we want to cancel an API call. Like I triggered the API call, but I don't want it anymore. So I can cancel in between. I don't need to wait for that and like waste my resources, internet resources or memory resources. So I can just cancel in between. So we are not going in so much detail now. I just mentioned that it is useful for canceling and saving our resources. So for post also we will add the query parameters. So now we are done with the this data source. I only did the API calls because we already seen the local DB thing. It's just that we extract that class from the uh, widget class to another class. So now I will do the complete the product repository implementation. Here I will uh, get a client. I will create a global variable for this. We can use some kind of dependency injection for creating the this kind of instances like API client, or I can also create that in the product repository implementations. So I have created the object for API client. Uh, for now, we are creating it inside this product repository implementation. And if we have suppose five product repository, like we have repository five repo implementations, we won't be creating it for five times. So we won't be creating it for five times. We will be just creating it for one time just to save our resources because every device is not having so much resources. We need to manage the memory accordingly as well. So in the next class, when we do the project, I will show using the river pod. But when I can just show it right now, right away. I will add the hooks river pod. I will add the river pod as well. And I will go to the main.dart and wrap it with the provider scope. It's just that simple to use the state management, set up the state management here using Riverpod. So after that, we can just create the inside API client file. I will create a provider for this API client. I will write provider here. I will name it as API client provider. The type I will give as API client, and here I will return API client and the instance of DO. I can also create the instance provider for DO also, but that's not needed because we are only using it in one place. So what is the benefit of doing this, creating this provider here instead of creating it here? We can accept this API client from the constructor instead of creating the object here. And according to that, when this is useful when we do the software testing kind of thing, or we want to pass different kinds of API clients here, implementation of API client. So here uh, we are giving the type of API client, but suppose if I extend a class uh, API client to implements API client, I need to implement all the functions, and then here I can also pass the API client to. The type is API client, but I can pass the subclass also here. So that's why it is useful. So here I will create the constructor for this. Okay, API class constructor is not constant, so we can't make this class also constant because uh, it will be it will not be according to the rules. Because if I am mentioning this as const, it means that when I create the object of this, it means it's a constant object. But it's not inside that we don't have everything as constant. That's it. Then inside the add product, I will just do API client dot post. Here I will pass the path, the data, and the query parameter if any. So one second, I made a mistake here that I made all of them as the um, required parameters, like positional parameter. So I am making converting this to optional parameters. I will keep only path as the positional parameter because path is required for every call. I can also do one more thing, that add a base URL in the DO object so that we don't need to pass the whole uh, what we say whole endpoint every time. I can set the base URL of inside this DO instance as um, what's the base URL? This thing. And after this, whatever I will pass the end as in the path, it will add after the base URL. The TO instance is this same one, so it will have the base URL, and then whatever path I will add pass here, it will add after that. Suppose if I pass here products, so it will be like this http fakestoreapi.com/products. So from here I will just pass the products, and after that I need to pass the data as I will copy this one from here. So this is a real image provided in the fake story API itself. So this will work. Now let's get the result from here. And this will be the this is dynamic here, but and future of dynamic. So I'm awaiting to get the result. And this is dynamic. I need to convert that to the product model where this this it makes sense because we written the model class. We'll serialize that here and we'll return the product model from there. So we took the product model from here. So I will also replace this values, and instead of replacing, I can do like create an object of product JSON from this product model. I will do product dot to JSON, and I will pass it here. So when I will be passing the product and creating the object of product model and passing to this function, then I will be using this values, these values. So now in the result, it's dynamics. We need to convert to, we need to use a JSON, then JSON dot, first of all, product model dot from JSON. Now I will use the result here. This will already come in the JSON. We work in using some different ways, so I don't remember. If it doesn't come in JSON, we need to do here JSON dot encode. Sorry, decode. It will convert if it is in the JSON string. It will convert in JSON, and if it is in JSON itself, then we don't need to do this. And then we return this. This will return an instance of product model. If we see product model. Now the same thing I can do for delete. I will just change the method here, delete. Need to check the endpoint here. Need to pass the path parameter as well. So that will be string in the edit the string interpolation here. After products, I need to pass the ID like this. And then data is not needed for this one. By mistake, I've added this data. You can make this optional. Okay. So this is done. Now, same thing for get products. It will be get instead of delete. Now here there is a difference that we are not returning product model. We are returning a list of product model, and also we are getting a list of product models here. So I will just do list dot from result One second. Okay. So we are calling a constructor of this list class list.from, and then we are typecasting this result as list because I know that it will come as list, and then we are writing a map function over this and converting the every object here to the product model dot from JSON. The each object here will be mm, converted to the product model. So I expect some errors here as this will not be in the JSON. I need to check. For our projects, we use one more package which is retrofit for client that does this like using code generation, but that will be too much for today's session, so I'm not using that. And I will also add this for the update. Post, and inside the data I need to pass the product dot to JSON. There's a chat that we have hooks in Flutter too. Yes, this is inspired from the React itself, from the React hooks. We have hooks in Flutter also. So I will try to showcase that also in when we will do the projects. Okay, now this product repo implementation is also done. The time is almost 9. The time is already 9:15. I will take 2 to 5 minutes more. So I will quickly create a screen here and we'll try to implement write the only the functions there. I will create a product screen dot dart. I will add a stateful widget here. Product screen. Sorry, it's not a product screen. Scaffold body. So this is the build method. I will write some functions here. First of all, we have the init state lifecycle. So if I haven't explained this init state before, I will just give the overview. This create state in the stateful widget, we have the lifecycle of a widget. So what is lifecycle? The function calls, the method calls happen after another. So that is the lifecycle. The first function call we have is create state. Then we have init state. Then we have did change dependency, did update widget, uh, resume, more are there. Then we have build method. So mostly we will be seeing these four: this create state, init state, build method, and dispose. So create state just it's the first ever lifecycle method which is called when the constructor is called. After this constructor is called, this will be the method which will be called. Then after that, init state will be called. This state class is created from here, and then when state class is created, this state will get called. So this is the first lifecycle method when the screen is screen builds. The state builds here. So we will be calling the APIs in init state. So make sure to keep the super.init state in the first line in the init state function override, and in the next lines we can write our implementations. I will do the. We have one thing missing here in the presentation. We will be using state management also, but for now I will just directly call the repository implementation. Product repo implementation. Okay, because we are taking the API client from there in the constructor of this, and also need to return the ref here. So we had one thing with the stateless widget. It was consumer stateless consumer widget instead of consumer stateful widget, stateless widget. Now with the stateful widget we have, if you want to include the consumer, we need to write consumer on three places. These three places: consumer stateful widget, consumer state, and consumer state. So I will import this. Now I will have the access of ref. For the stateless consumer widget, we had the access of ref only inside the build method, but for the consumer stateful widget, we have the ref method ref variable accessible inside whole state class. So initially we saw stateless widget. For that, if we are using state management river pod, we have the replacement for that, which is consumer widget. And if you are for the stateful widget, we have consumer stateful widget. So here I will pass ref.read API client provider. I will create a late variable over here. What is late? Late is nothing but it's saying that we will be initializing the variable later on. We are just declaring the variable here. We will initialize that later on, but before the build method is called. So we need to initialize that before this is called, and build method gets called after the init state. So I will create the initialize this one, product repo implementation, and then we'll call product repo dot get products like this. And for now I'm not going to the UI part and implementation because it's already time. I will just print the result here, get products. Or for like I'm adding one more thing. Instead of get products, I'm doing the get one product, single product for now. So I will do one here for here, and instead of this, I will simply do, or let me just try once. Tanna sir, if it's being late, then maybe we can conclude this call, today's session, and I can continue this tomorrow.
Okay, okay, okay. Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. I really thank you, Mr. Ayush and Mr. Razak, especially you, that you take a lot of pain to give us the demonstration for more than 2 hours, approximately 3 hours. So we, on behalf of the entire teaching fraternity of under the University of Calcutta, belonging to Department of Computer Science, really thank your efforts. Uh, uh, we uh, we are very thankful to you as well as the entire PyTangent team. If participants who have any questions for today, you can shoot that to Mr. Ayush. Otherwise, we can just call it a day. Thank you again, participants. If you want to ask anything to Mr. Ayush.
Thank you very much, sir. It's my pleasure also. Yes, participants, please ask.
Yes, Mr. Ayush, I have a question actually.
Yes.
The first question is, sir, do you have any developer tools for River Pod, like which we have some developer tools for Redux to go through the
Okay,
data and
to
everything?
visualize the data, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So we don't really use the like we should be having. I haven't used till now, but we have some kind of loggers. So we can, if we go to this thing, suppose provider scope we can add the observers here. If you see the parameters here, we can add the list of observers here, and we can implement our own provider observer like this. Simply class. Suppose I created a class called provider logger.
Yes. And Mr. Ayush, another question. You were talking about the life cycle, right? Can you
Yes.
tell me can you please repeat the life cycles once again? Means for the Flutter. What I want to know
Yes.
that
Sure.
are they means they work same way like we used to have the life cycles in React for the class-based component.
Yes, exactly. What we had in the class-based component in React, the stateful widget is actually inspired from that only. And then
Okay, okay.
after the stateful widget is native to the Flutter, and then Flutter hooks are developed by some developers who used to like work with React before,
Okay.
because for the same concept we have the Flutter hooks.
And another thing, for communication between child widget and parent widget, we should mention widget in case of
Yes.
Flutter. So we can pass, we can use river pod for global state management. Now,
Yes.
if I want the communication between from child to parent, if I want to share some data from child widget to parent widget, then without using the global state management, how can I?
Yeah, that's a nice question. And simply how we used to do that in the React also we can do. Suppose this is a child widget. I can demo this. This will take like 5 minutes. I can demo this in the next class. Simply, we can create a
Yeah,
callback
surely.
function here. We can create a
Oh,
callback
like
function
that only, the like
and
fallback
pass. Yeah,
prop.
similarly, yeah, exactly similar to the what we have in the React.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Any other questions? এমন মনে হচ্ছে যেন আমরা সবাই ঘুমিয়ে পড়েছি, ঠান্ডা পড়েছে তো ওই জন্য মনে হচ্ছে যেন আমরা সবাই ঘুমিয়ে পড়েছি। No questions at all. Only few. Anyways,
No,
any
but it's
questions
a very
please?
interesting topic. Mm.
Thank you.
আপনাদের সবার
And
ভালো
another
লাগলেই
question I have,
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
Yeah, sure,
Mr.
sure, sure.
Ayush, I have another question. Are we allowed to use cookies or local storage in case of Flutter?
Sorry, I didn't get it clearly.
Are we allowed to use cookies or local storage in Flutter? Like we used to store the JWT tokens in the local storage, or we had a package named JS cookies. So if I want to store something like that in the local storage, so do we have that local storage thing in
Uh,
Flutter?
yeah, yeah. I am like to for today's session. In the starting, I showed the local storage. Were you in the class like session from the beginning? In the first
No, not
hour.
from the beginning
Okay.
actually.
So for
Okay, okay.
today's
So I think I will get it in the
recording, you can
video.
yeah. Exactly.
yeah, sure.
We used the
Okay,
SQ. We did the implementation for this package SQF Lite. SQL. This
okay,
is the SQL based local database. We have many other options. This was the simplest SQL database, so we did this one.
okay. Thank you, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions, please? Okay, I don't think we have any other questions, Mr. Ayush. Again, thank you very much. It has been really, we take 1 hour class, then we take a break. But it seems you have been taking it for a very, very long time. So very thankful from all of us. We are very thankful to you that you have been very patient and very calmly giving us the sessions. So again, thank you very much from the entire teaching fraternity. So let's call it a day and good night, everybody. Good night and thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Good night. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.